Hello everybody and welcome along to the streets of St. Petersburg, Florida. It is the Grand Prix of St. Pete's this weekend, 14 corners, 1.8 miles on a street circuit, sort of. It's not typical as we're getting ready for IMSA Porsche GT3 Cup USA by Yokohama action. I'm John Hindhoff. When I say not typical, yes, there are some hairpin turns and some 90-degree turns, but there's some fast sweepers as well, notably heading down through Bayshore Drive at turn 10 and into the 11 and 12 complex before you come into the final two hairpins. And then there's that long straight line down runway 9 of St. Petersburg's airport. Beautiful afternoon for you, and a limited number of people allowed inside, which means a variety of the local residents have got out onto their balconies to take advantage of the look around. We have 15 cars for you. Jeremy Shaw, my usual partner in crime. Great to see the Porsches on the streets. They were the only cars that did any running here when St. Pete was meant to happen earlier in the year. Qualifying took place earlier on today. Jeremy, how did they line up?
Yeah, let's have a look at the starting line. This is going to be round 13 of this year's Porsche GT3 Cup Challenge USA by Yokohama, 15 cars. There are 4 Gold Cup entries, and the rest of them are Platinum class cars. Starting at the back is Michael Manella for MCR Racing. Had some dramas in practice and qualifying, as did the driver who will start 14th on the grid. That's kind of a 99, Alan Metney for Kelly Moss AM Motorsports, the leader of the Masters category this season. Alongside him will be Richard Edge in caliber 18 for ACI Motorsports. Row 6, Danny Hardy making his return for TPC Racing, local driver in caliber 69. Alongside the Gold Cup Championship leader for ACI Motorsports, caliber 17, is Kurt Swearingen. The pole sitter, however, for Gold Cup this weekend for the 8th time this season in car number 65 for TPC Racing is Efren Castro. Alongside him on the grid, Frank Razzo for car number 57 for Top Racing, and then on to row 4, Charlie Luck IV for Wright Motorsports, car number 45. He won the Masters class in all 3 races last time out at Michelin Raceway Road, Atlanta. Alongside him on the grid, making his return to the series after missing the last few rounds, is the fastest of the Masters cars contenders for TPC Racing, car number 10 from Virginia, is Vernon McClure. Car number 11, Sean Mccallister for JDX Racing, will start on the outside of row 3, alongside Sebastian Carrazzo in car number 27 for Kelly Moss Road and Race. Row 2 is Kenny Murillo in car number 56 for Top Racing, alongside Riley Dickinson in car number 53 for More Speed. An excellent qualifying run yesterday for Top Racing's car number 58, TJ Fisher, bearing the benefits the coaching is receiving from the former multiple winner in this championship is Zach Robichaud. But on the pole position yet again, his 5th pole of the season, a championship leader for Kelly Moss Road and Racing, car number 16 from Canada, is Jeff Kingsley.
And the 2 championships, there's 2 different types of cars out on the track. The cars at the front of the field are Platinum. They have a slightly larger 4-litre engine. And they effectively run at the front of the championship. They're a little bit newer and they have a slightly different aero package as well. That championship is very much between Jeff Kingsley on pole and right behind him on the inside of row 2, Riley Dickinson. So the 16 and the 53, the championship leaders there. In the gold category, which have the gold markings on the shade band, the gold door mirrors and the gold rear wing end plates, they're slightly older Gen 1 cars as they are known. And in fact, Kurt Swearingen in the number 17, that car goes back to 2014 in its racing history. He's in 2nd place on the outside pole. Efren Castro is his championship rival, 2nd place in the championship, but 1st place on the grid here for TPC Racing in the number 65. So not a usual point and squirt road circuit at St. Pete's. Jeremy still holds the SCC race truck lap record around this place. Some very fast corners, and getting off this final couple of corners onto the runway. Very important indeed. The field under the control of Jeff Kingsley. Driver's right is pole position, waiting for the green flag for the IMSA Porsche GT3 Cup Challenge USA by Yokohama at St. Pete's. It's a long hold. It's a long hold. And we've got all 15 cars very close indeed. When does the flagman go for the green flag? They're almost at the line. And there's the green flag and they're racing. My goodness me. That was a long hold, and it's a very good break. And down the inside immediately into turn one, Riley Dickinson with the shield on the hood of his Porsche goes through into second, displacing TJ Fisher. A little bit naive maybe there by TJ, starting his racing career. And through, slipping straight through, then into second place, Riley Dickinson. It looked to me as though Kenny Murillo had gone into third, the top racing teammate of TJ. He's gone down to fourth, and Sebastian Carrazzo is in the wall early in the number 27 car. So great start at the front of the field for our two championship leaders. Fabulous start from Kenny Murillo, Jeremy, but Sebastian Carrazzo hard into the wall at, looked to me as it was turn three as they go onto First Street Southwest.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's a shame for Sebastian. Heavy impact there, I think, for that number 27 car. That's another of the Kelly Moss Road and race machines, and that's a shame having started off the weekend well. He was quick in the first practice session, third fastest in the first practice session, but unfortunately that's going to bring out the full course caution. It's a really tricky corner that there's a couple of kind of kinks before it leading onto this onto First Street Southwest, and it's so easy, particularly on cold tires, to make a mistake, and that's what Carrazzo has apparently done. I mean, there could have been some other contact as well, of course, because it's just a dangerous part of the racetrack here in St. Pete.
So immediately we have the safety truck out to pace the cars around. This is a time certain race. We started with 45 minutes on the clock. This won't bother Jeff Kingsley that much, as rounds are beginning to run out for Riley Dickinson to overhaul his championship leader. Probably a good idea to look at the Porsche points in the championship for platinum and for gold when we get a moment, Jeremy. Huge hit into the wall from Carrazzo, and I think he had some help there. He came in at virtually unabated speed. He was already backwards before he came through turn number three, and it looked to me as he had contact already, because there was a right front wheel and tyre combination and part of the front suspension that was already ripped from that car. Safety team, by the way, already on site.
I mean, turn one is a sharp right-hander, then goes into turn two, which is a tricky corner. There's the curb on the inside. The corner sort of kind of tighter than you looked, and it closes right up on the exit. There's a wall right there on the exit. It's bitten a lot of cars in the past there.
Yeah.
And it could be that he made his mistake coming out of turn two, and you just had to end up in a wall all the way down here in turn three, which is a couple hundred yards later down the track. But heavy impact there for Sebastian, and hopefully he's going to be okay. He's had a good first season in the Platinum cars, having won last year's Masters Championship, of course, but it's certainly been a steep learning curve for the Puerto Rican. It's good to see that he's out of the car.
The flatbed, the rollback tow vehicle is there, and it is not going to be a flat tow because the right front suspension has been torn off that portion, and there'll be a bit of a scramble to get that car put straight for the second race of the weekend tomorrow. Gives us an opportunity to revisit what I was talking about there, Jeremy, as they head on to runway 9 of the Albert Whitted Airport here on the shorefront at St. Pete. At top of the Platinum class, Jeff Kingsley has a lead, comfortable-ish, I would say, with the rounds running out.
Yeah, very definitely. The time is certainly running out here for Riley Dickinson to make a challenge for the championship. It's been a fantastic season for Jeff Kingsley. I mean, he's really come on strong this season. He had a pretty good rookie year last year, but he's really stepped it up for 2020, and he's been very, very difficult to beat. He's scored wins on every racetrack this season. Every weekend of the season he's scored at least one win. Two of them last time out at Road Atlanta. Well, just last week, wasn't it? Seems like an age ago. But he's going to be hard to catch. He's got a 25-point lead over Riley Dickinson, so For Dickinson to qualify only third here, that makes things even more difficult for him. The good news for Dickinson, he has made a move. He's up into second place, so perhaps he can challenge at the restart, but he's going to need to beat Riley Dickinson and, with the points system as it is, hope for mistakes, I think, from the Canadian.
Yeah, and Jeff Kingsley did a great qualifying, had 3 or 4 really top quality laps, and he will start on pole position for race 2 tomorrow here at St. Pete's. As far as the Gold Cup is concerned for the Gen 1 at 991 GT3 Porsche Cup cars, it's been a story of 2 drivers there as well. ACI Motorsports' Kurt Swearingen and Efren Castro from TPC Racing. And they shared the spoils last weekend in an unusual but not unique triple header event that we had at Road Atlanta last weekend. How do they stand coming into St. Pete's?
Yeah, they're a little bit closer, but it's an 18-point lead for Swearingen over Castro. 8 wins to 4 in favour of Swearingen this season. The polls, however, have been basically the other way around. Castro has had the edge in qualifying, but Swearingen has had the edge in the race wins, and not a lot of love lost between these two. They've had a few incidents on track this season, so they're not exactly best of buddies. They were teammates last year, but they're not the best of buddies right now. So Efren Castro will be definitely looking to put one over on his rival here this weekend and maintain that position out in the front of the class as he is right now.
Very, very badly damaged number 27 car for Sebastian Carrazzo. I should have said this earlier, but Sebastian, once the safety crew got there, was able to get out of the car himself. In the pits, by the way, is the TPC Racing number 69 car, and they're looking at the front end of that car. I'm sort of putting 2 and 2 together and making several more than 4 at that point for the Danny Hardy car, the man from Vero Beach in Florida. I can't see any damage to that car, certainly not any significant damage, and I'm just trying to work out how close they might have been on the grid, but until I have any other evidence to the fact, I will say for the moment that we can't say whether that has been connected to the original incident or not. But the 27 car, Jeremy, very, very badly damaged. That right front suspension completely torn off. The exhaust pipes have taken a hit as well. Now, you might say that doesn't make a lot of difference, does it? Well, except right behind that on a Porsche 911, of course, is the engine. The gearbox may have taken a crack as well on the very unforgiving concrete walls. It tends to be in car versus wall, whatever the car is, the wall here tends to come out best, Jeremy.
Yes, it certainly does. I know if there was any relation between Danny Hardy's problems and Sebastian Carrazzo's, it was purely incidental, or it could be that Hardy picked up something on the racetrack as a result of the hit by Carrazzo, because they were certainly nowhere near each other on the racetrack.
It's Jeremy Shaw and John Hindorf as we are under full course yellow. IMSA Porsche Carrera Cup USA by Yokohama. And the time counting down now, under 37 minutes to go. At IMSA Radio, if you want to get in touch with us, hello to Mickey Heth, who's tuning in from the United Kingdom in sound and vision. And Jeremy, with a bit of clean-up still to do, let's do a bit of housekeeping.
Yeah, just an interesting story here. Jeff Stone, who is the team principal there at Kelly Moss Road and race, the race leading car, the Children's Hospital car from Alabama of Jeff Kingsley. This is Jeff's home race. He was born and raised in Largo, Florida, which is only 20 minutes or so away from here, and he's the family did all sorts. His father actually worked in the space industry back in the early days, and Jeff himself cut his teeth in the sport right here in this local area. He was a fabricator, a designer, and a car builder. In fact, he was the first fabricator, and indeed the first driver. He designed and built the first driver capsule for the circus offshore power boats back in the day, the hydroplanes. So he's been involved in many different forms of racing since then, over years of course. But he calls this his happy place. He's just thrilled to be racing here on the streets of St. Pete.
At the front of the field, Jeff Kingsley leads a train of now 13, well, actually maybe 12, because David Hardy's car's not, Danny Hardy's car's not come out of the pit lane after being looked at very carefully by TPC Racing. That's the number 69 car. We've got cleanup of a bit of oil, dry and dirt and dust down at turn 3. I think we'll have at least one more circuit behind the Porsche safety car, which leads them around at the moment. It's a very nice 911 in what a lot of people call GTS red. Carmine, I think, is the proper colour for that, for those of you who are Porsche fans. Efren Castro leads the gold category, and despite the limited amount of running we had before we went green, actually I'm looking at that now, is that a 911? I'll check that in a moment. I just glanced across, it might be a bit bigger than a 911. Efren Castro, and despite the short amount of running, no, it's a Panamera, it's Panamera GTS. Efren Castro, I'll be drummed out of the Porsche club for that. Castro managed to make hay in the 3 corners that we had green, and he's got past Charlie Look, so that puts a platinum car between him and his championship rival Kurt Swearingen for ACI Motorsports. And that's important, Jeremy, because I can only imagine the platinum cars are going to be difficult to pass around here for the Gold Cup runners.
Yeah, you know, it's not an easy place to make overtaking moves here. You've got to be pretty careful about it. It's very easy to make a mistake, as we've already seen from Sebastian Carrazzo. And you know, it's
red flag, Jeremy.
Red flag, yeah.
Red flag.
Yeah.
Now, Carrazzo's car is being taken away, bereft as it is of right front corner.
That was cause or effect, you know. It's possible cause.
Certainly the wheel was
kind
off,
of alluded to that.
Yeah, long before the big hit at the middle part of turn 3. So not getting anything at the moment from race control to tell us what is going on in terms of why this is. I presume just because of the extended cleanup, they feel there's not much point in touring around behind the safety car. So everybody will come back into the pit lane, which is indeed exactly what is happening now. And therefore, we have the race suspended. Now, the clock, because of how tight it is here, and with the IndyCar Firestone Grand Prix of St. Petersburg qualifying to come, the clock will run, I reckon, here. I don't think we'll see that stopped. It's already under 33 minutes. So this is very unfortunate, Jeremy, that for the moment at least, the guys aren't getting any racing. Clearly there's something out on the circuit that race control's not happy with.
Yeah, it could be one of the barriers has been moved as a result of that impact. It was a heavy crash there for Sebastian Carrazzo, and you know, that would be the thing. I mean, I'm sure, you know, the first priority is to get the car out of the way, make sure. Well, first priority is make sure the driver's okay, correct, of course. Second priority, get the car out of the way, and then thirdly, they'll make sure there's no damage to the barriers on the side of the racetrack that could have any further implications down the road. So yeah, really unfortunate for these guys. I mean, you know, as you said, they were here 7 months ago, for goodness sake, for that one practice session. In fact, all of the cars that were here that weekend, except for the Indy cars, did actually have one session on the racetrack, including the Road to Indy series as well. But nothing more than that. And I think it was right at the end of the Porsche session that the plug was finally pulled. But just really unfortunate. Here's another. Yeah, he got squeezed there, I think.
Yeah, he got squeezed by the Kenny Murillo car. No, for Sean Mccallister's car. And right front corner comes into contact with the right-hand side of the barrier as he was coming through the little kink before turn 3. So not really even turn 2. He was through turn 2, I think. But as he was coming to the pointy bit of turn 3, so as 5th Avenue Southeast comes in to join First Street, then there's just a little kink there, and the room was closing down, And I think that's what's happened with a little bit of steering input into that car, as there would have been there, Jeremy. It was enough to catch that right front wheel on that unforgiving concrete wall and just completely rip that front corner off. And from that point, Sebastian Carrazzo was a passenger.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what happened. I think that makes a lot of sense. I mean, it's strange there isn't more damage really to the right front corner, but I think it was just really unfortunate. I think the biggest cause of that was probably the fact that TJ Fisher got such a slow run out of turns 1 and 2, and so the pack was really closed behind him there. He got shuffled out at turn 1, which quickly becomes turn 2. And then, there's other people trying to make up ground, and unfortunately for Sebastian Carrazzo, just kind of in the wrong place at the wrong time, and that was a heavy impact for him.
Just trailing ahead a little bit whilst we have the opportunity, as we're now under half an hour, under 30 minutes to go. The qualifying session that we had earlier today does also potentially set the grid for tomorrow as well, Jeremy, in terms of second quickest lap times.
It does indeed. It's either the second to quickest lap time, or if they're able to go any faster during the race today. And of course, we haven't seen any fast laps at all. We haven't even completed a lap of racing yet. So I think that's probably going to be fairly unlikely. It's pretty warm this afternoon, and unlikely that they're going to go any quicker than they did in qualifying yesterday. And just looking at the grid positions for the second race as they stand after qualifying, it's the same front row. Jeff Kingsley and TJ Fisher will be on the front row for tomorrow. Riley Dickinson remains in third place. The guy who's going to be most disappointed is Sebastian Carrazzo, because he would have moved up a position ahead of Kenny Murillo. Actually, Murillo went back 2 positions on tomorrow's grid behind Carrazzo and Sean Mccallister, but that's going to be a big job to get Sebastian's car ready for tomorrow, and I think that's probably fairly unlikely.
Yeah, and just a note on Jeff Kingsley, he put in 3 or 4 absolutely storming qualifying laps in that qualifying session earlier on today. 3 minutes is the sign and the word we are hearing from race control. So the flat 6 engines for the moment have fallen silent. They've turned them off. They do have self-starters in them, of course, based on the venerable Porsche 911 road car. This is the 991 body shape, so just been superseded recently by the new 992, which is for the first time has a single body shape right throughout the 911 range for the new car, and we will see that car in this championship next year. The 992 GT3 Cup Challenge car, or should I say Carrera Cup car, will be part of the championship next year. And as I say, for the first time in the street cars, all the cars have the wide body front and rear. First time that there are different diameter wheels front to rear on the new 992 as well for a 911. And so whether you take Carrera, Carrera S, Carrera 4, or any of the even more sporty variants, all the body shells are the wide front and rear track on the cars. These being the 991 category, we have 2 versions. The Gen 1 cars are the 3 Gold Cup cars with the yellow door mirrors, yellow wing end plates, and the yellow end to the shade band on the windscreens. The ones with black door mirrors and black wing end plates, and also, of course, the black edges to the shade bands, they are the 991 Gen 2 cars. Slightly bigger engine, 4-litre cars. The Gen 1 cars, notable, of course, that's the last of the 3.8 engines, the so-called Metzger engine, which has a phenomenal history in Porsche, going back through Porsche Street and race cars. Sadly, Herr Dr. Metzger, we lost in the last year, the man behind so many great Porsche Street and race engines down through the years. But to see these cars racing, continuing to race, and so many Porsches around the world still running Metzger-designed engines, is a fitting tribute to a veritable genius of engineering. Well, the good news is that the Panamera GTS has pulled out of the pit lane, and following along with it, the full remaining, now I reckon, 12 car field. With, interestingly enough, we didn't expect to see Bart Collins or David Bruley Sr., but Michael Manella's car didn't start either. The number 4 car earlier on, the MCR Racing, in all the excitement, I have to say I didn't pick that up, Jeremy, but I've just noticed now that that car is listed as a non-starter. Wasn't expecting to see Bart or David, but haven't quite yet then got to the bottom of why Michael Manella did not get to the start there.
Yeah, no, he had an off yesterday in the practice session, in the practice or qualifying actually, but he did quite a lot of damage to that car. So yeah, that has been scratched from the weekend. So yeah, the other two, David Bruley and Bart Collins, they elected not to make the trip in the end. So we're going to go back to green.
We are indeed. Barely a full lap, straight out the pit lane, straight to green flag, and Jeff Kingsley has to do it from a single file restart. He does that nicely, diving down the inside into turn 1, across the paint, which is really, and a spin right in the middle of the pack. That was the number 10 car, Vernon McClure for TPC Racing, and caught up behind Frank Razzo for Top Racing. Just has nowhere to go, now scrambling around to find reverse. Why didn't I ask where reverse was before we went out on the green flag lap, is what he's thinking to himself right now. But you know, you never need it in a race car, except when you do. Great restart from Jeff Kingsley. It was Sean Mccallister who was looking down the inside at turn 1 on TJ Fisher for 4th place. That didn't happen for him. So 16, 53, 56, 58 and 11 are your top 5, with Charlie Luck in the 45, the rainbow sided Porsche, leading the Masters class for drivers who have a little more experience of life. And he's been having a cracking battle all season with the number 99 driver. That's just the car number, nothing to do with Alan Metney's age. The Kelly Moss AM Motorsports car, the all-white iFly car, sits in 8th position at the moment. Back on the runway as we complete what effectively is our first green flag lap in total, with just under 24 minutes to go. Jeremy Shaw.
Yeah, finally we get a lap with less than half the race remaining. We've got our first green flag lap, and a good restart there for Jeff Kingsley. Riley Dickinson was looking pretty racy on that restart lap, but Jeff Kingsley now, I think he's probably in his groove, and he's going to be hard to beat. But certainly Riley Dickinson hasn't given up. You know, he's still the youngster from Florida, still only 18 years of age. Hard to believe, isn't it? But it's quite a talent, and you know, he's looking to make up ground here again in the championship. Just a brief look at that spin by
Efren Castro did a great job to miss the spinning number 10 of Vernon McClure, and he's leading the gold category, and he managed, although he lost a position I think to Alan Metney, no he didn't actually, he managed not to lose a position to Kurt Swearingen as well, and so Castro now up to 7th position with Alan Metney in that 99 car ahead of Kurt Swearingen and Richard Edge, who are the 2 other gold category runners. Onto the start-finish straight, back onto the runway, 1st and 2nd together. Riley Dickinson get a little bit of a draft. He'll benefit from the hole in the air being punched by the number 16 Kelly Moss Road and Race. Does he dive out to driver's right? He does not. Really interesting turning in there on the runway markings. The grip level changes markedly between the runway, the markings, and back to the runway again, and you do have to feel a little bit for the grip in there. It's not like road street markings. In fact, sometimes you get a little more grip out of those runway markings on there. They're a slightly different compound and a little bit rougher on the top, and so quite often you'll find you get a bit of slip on the front tyres, then grip, then slip again. It's one thing I remember from my limited laps around here in the old ALMS days, in a variety of very lovely street cars. I remember driving some journalists around here in an Audi R8, part of the same family as we're watching here. That was a lot of fun. I also remember this little kink coming into turns 11 and 12 was very, very quick indeed, even in a street car, and these guys are making that look very simple now, Jeremy. And for a moment it looked like Riley Dickinson for the Mo Speed team in 2nd place was going to have a little look at the leader, but again Jeff Kingsley unflustered, focusing forward, exactly what you'd be telling him to do if you were on the radio to him, and he's pulled out not a cushion but a little bit of a lead.
Yes, he has, and he just done the fastest lap of the race as well as Jeff Kingsley, 1 minute 16.3. It was Riley who was quicker on the last lap at a 1:16.5, so a couple of tenths shaved away from that now by our race leader Jeff Kingsley, and he's going to look to pull away, but certainly at this stage he's not able to do so. Ryder Dickinson remaining right with him, a little bit of a gap back to third place, but Kenny Murillo, he's got his teammate from Top Rating, TJ Fisher, right behind him, and also there is Sean Mccallister as well, so a good 3-car battle for third, fourth and fifth positions.
Yeah, and should mention those two top racing cars as well, Jeremy, because those two drivers, two of the youngest drivers that we have in the field, and a fantastic opportunity for them driving in the top racing cars. That's Kenny Murillo and TJ Fisher, with Sean Mccallister actually right in behind them for JDX. Interesting mix of drivers in this championship, always has been, with young career-minded drivers mixing it up with gentlemen drivers who are perhaps a little older and are still racing for the fun of it. And the good news is that doesn't change for next year when we go to Carrera Cup USA.
Yeah, true. It's certainly a great thing about this mix of drivers in this championship. It's certainly given several youngsters an opportunity to make a name for themselves in sports car racing, and that's certainly what it's doing for these two out in the front of the field. Jeff Kingsley, of course, he's already had his opportunity. He joined the McLaren team from Compass Racing for the most recent race.
That was last weekend, wasn't it, at Road Atlanta. So just under 20 minutes to go. The leading pair through the kink that takes you off Bayshore Drive and down towards the end of the lap. A little bit of high cloud, but otherwise blue skies. Then a great battle, third, fourth and fifth as one. And that's Murillo, Fisher and Sean Mccallister, top and JDX racing cars there. Maybe an opportunity for a chance to make an overtaking manoeuvre down into turn one. Looked like Dickinson was lining up the leader as well, but he's not close enough. Got to keep you calm here, Jeremy, and your patience. The Yokohama tyres probably not doing as much work as we might have expected because of those safety car laps, so there should be plenty of grip here, although the cars will still, relatively speaking, for 18 minutes left in the race, will actually be quite heavy because they haven't burned off as much racing fuel as they would have expected.
Yeah, that's a very good point, because generally by this stage, the tyres would be struggling a little bit because they'd have been thrashed for their lives for the last almost half an hour. But you're right, we've really only had 10 minutes or so, not even that, of green flag running in this race. So they've had a bit of a breather, and these two out in front are really caning those tyres as hard as they possibly can. They're trading fastest laps each time around. The fastest lap so far was actually set on the previous lap by Riley Dickinson at a 1 minute 15.952. That was almost matched last time around by Jeff Kingsley, but still nothing to choose between that pair.
And if you took the best three sectors and put them together, there's a 15.7 in there already. I suspect that as we do burn off a little of that weight in terms of the fuel, that these guys might even get a little bit quicker. The battle for third, fourth and fifth, they're not closing in. They're around about 5 seconds away from the leading pair, but they're not tripping themselves up either. We've not seen, Jeremy, a concerted overtaking opportunity from either Dickinson on the leader, Jeff Kingsley, or indeed from Fisher or Mccallister on Kenny Murillo, who's in third position. Nobody yet feels that they are close enough to make a dive, and you can't be half-hearted here, and you can't just send it and hope for the best, because those walls are just too close.
That's exactly the case, and there's another race to come tomorrow as well. Yeah. So you want to make sure you make that, you at least start that race. You don't want to put yourself out of it before you even get there. Of course, that's what's happened to Michael Manella with his crash yesterday. Alan Metney's had a difficult weekend as well. He's found the wall a couple of times yesterday in that car number 99. He's running way back in the pack in a very unaccustomed 8th place, and he's been unable to find a way past Efren Castro. So that just shows you it's this place can bite, and it can bite quickly. So if you're going to make a move, it's got to be really incisive and clean, and that's certainly what Riley Dickinson will be hoping to do. He's still got 15 minutes remaining in this race. So if you keep the pressure on, I'm sure there's going to be some clearer, well, he will be hoping there's going to be some clearer opportunities that will present themselves.
I've not raced on what you would call a full street circuit. I've raced at some tracks where the retaining walls are very close to the side of the track, and I found the only way I could do that, as we are now getting a dive down the inside, and there's a touch, and that was almost inevitable, and that's the two teammates that was going down to turn 4, and it's the two top racing teammates, Murillo and Fisher, who have come together. There's damage certainly to the 58 car of TJ Fisher, the mainly white machine. Just a little tap on the right rear corner, and his teammate Kenny Murillo, trying to get out of it, has spun himself around against the wall. I think that could bring out another. It has brought out the Porsche Panamera safety car. Again, that's going to be a difficult debrief, Jeremy, in the team transporter.
Yeah, it really is. That was a not the best of moves there, I think, for that position. And it's been a flashpoint in the past when I raced on this racetrack. We didn't use quite the same racetrack as we're using right now, but this was a flashpoint in the race that I did. So again, he's almost there on the inside line, but you've got to be completely there, and he wasn't completely there. What he should have done is left his braking almost impossibly late, so there's no way that the car he's trying to pass can turn into the corner. That's the clean pass in that position there. Yeah. This is exactly the same thing happened actually to me, in actual fact, because I was leading a race here in the race trucks a long time ago now, and I got tipped from behind going into that corner by Peter Holzmer, actually. Thank you, Peter. And I spun around. There was a huge wreck in our wake. All the cars kind of piled up there. They've opened up that section of racetrack now, so it's not quite as bad as it was before. By the way, I did get going again, and we ended up winning the team championship. It was rather cool. But the good news is there that the number 58 car of TJ Fisher has got going again. But Kenny Murillo, it seems, is out, and he probably might want to stay there for a while. And as you say, John, I don't think making his presence felt back in the paddock is probably a particularly good idea at the moment.
Did you, when you race on a track like this, the point I was going to make just before that happened, did you find you just have to, in some ways, ignore the walls and almost, quote-unquote, look through them? When I speak to people who play golf, they don't look at the water hazard. They don't look at the bunker or the outer bounds, because we are led by our eyes. And if I'm told, and certainly I know this from riding motorcycles, if you look at the hole in the road, then you're likely to drive into it. Is that the same with street circuits? You've got to kind of forget the walls are there?
Absolutely right, yes. And actually the race that we did around here was actually at the dark. It was at night time as well. So, and there was no floodlighting. It was just the street lights, which was really interesting, because the street lights, of course, with the walls lining the racetrack, would cast a shadow, and that made it even more difficult than it is right now. You can just see, if you see the sun on the shadow, has shadows here against the wall, but the sun's pretty high in the sky right now. When we were racing at night, it wasn't the case, so there were big long shadows, and some people found it a lot more easy to drive around here than others did. I loved it, but you're right, you have to ignore the walls, because if you look at it, you're going to hit it. Yeah,
so you had to work out whether that black thing in the middle of where you were turning in and aiming for was real wall or just shadow. I've driven Bathurst at night, and it's pitch dark in there, and that's got a lot of walls very close, and that can be very intimidating. But I prefer driving at night, if I'm honest. I feel there's less distractions for my little tiny brain. Well, the good news, actually, is both of the cars involved there, both the top racing cars, have got going again. Both TJ Fisher, who extricated himself, got a little dink, by the way, from Sean Mccallister. That's where the damage on the right rear came to the white number 58 car. And then Kenny Murillo found reverse. He was so hard up against the wall, he would never have been able to get out of the driver's side anyway. But he managed to get the car off the wall. He's done a swift U-turn, and he's rejoined the field. Both of those cars, though, are laps down on the field. Ooh, now, I say that, did TJ get going without dropping a lap?
I think TJ did.
Yes. Yes. And Kenny Murillo has dropped one lap, but with just under 11 minutes to go, by the time we come back to the green, we will be racing again, and it's Jeff Kingsley who'll have to do it again in a single file restart with his championship challenger Riley Dickinson for more speed behind him, coming down now off Bayshore and down towards the end of the runway, through the kink at 11 and 12, the little chicane. Then into the right-handed double apex hairpin, listed as 13 and 14. That's where they are now. We'll come back to green flag racing with 10 minutes and 40 seconds or thereabouts on the clock, and we are racing again. Kingsley, Dickinson, Mccallister. Charlie Look has done a great job. He's up in the 4th, and his Masters competitor Alan Metney right in behind, and not for long. Metney goes down the inside into turn 1. Can he hold on to it? He does for a moment. Look round the outside through turn 2. They're side by side, and Charlie Look somehow manages to get that back. A super initial manoeuvre on the brakes at the end of the long front straight by Alan Metney, but very cool head by Charlie Look. He knew he would be able to get that back. Also, by the way, our Gold Cup runners, 6th, 7th and 8th, with no platinum cars behind them. So Efren Castro has no tail end Charlie. He has no backstop. He's battling now with Kurt Swearinger and Richard Edge as well. The other ACI Motorsports car is right there. Leaders just pulling away a little bit from 3rd place. That's Sean Mccallister for JDX. Jeremy.
Great driving by both Alan Metney then and Charlie Luck. Metney, he just got past Efren Castro right, well, as the yellow was coming out for an instant between the top racing teammates. So he was ahead of Castro. He made that dive bomb move down in turn 1, but carried too much speed into the corner. And a really good driving there for Charlie Luck to get that position back again. And you know, he's looking to get another Masters win. He won the last 3 last time out. It had been a while. It had been 25 races since he had a Masters win before that. And Charlie Luck in that car number 45 for Wright Motorsports, he loves winning, and he was thrilled to make that pass. So there's such a good move there from Vernon McClure. Takes out Frank Razzo.
No, that was not smart at all going into turn 1. And Frank Razzo, another of the top racing cars, does a big U-turn and gets around. Now I think Vernon McClure in the red, white number 10 car, if he can find reverse, he should be able to get out the tyre wall at driver's left in the middle of turn 1. We're staying green at the moment with 8 minutes, yes, and 33. It's a single yellow over the start finish line, so we are staying green. No further intervention. I like this call. I like this call a lot. There's a lot of runoff there down at the end of the front straight. Vernon McClure being given every opportunity to rejoin before the leaders come round. There'll be about 8 minutes and 10 seconds to go, which is about 6 or 7 laps. Waved yellows at the end of the front straight on the runway, which means no passing allowed. Let's see if Vernon's gone. Still waved yellow only, local yellow. Like this call from race control. Mccallister goes through in 3rd. Then Charlie Look in the green, white and red Porsche. He's leading the Masters class from the number 99 of Alan Metney. That's your top 5. Then that fabulous battle for Gold Cup. Castro, Swearingen and Richard Edge. Richard just dropped a little bit further back from those two battling championship contenders. And at the front of the field, as they head down to the right-hander at Central Avenue before they turn right onto Bayshore Drive, the two leaders in a little bit of shade for a moment. Love this fast run down Bayshore Drive, Jeremy. That fast left-handed kink is absolutely superb, and that's what I meant earlier on by saying this is not your typical point and squirt 90-degree or hairpin street circuit.
Oh, you're dead right. That's a heck of a corner, turn 9. I mean, it's really fast in these cars. They come out of turn 8. You know, it's a 90-degree right-hand turn, and 2 90-degree right-hand turns leading on to that straight. But with the water on your left there, it's a really, really fast corner.
Well, Vernon McClure hasn't been able to find the gear that he was looking for, and therefore, with 6:42 to go, we're back for the 3rd time now to circulating behind the safety car. That's a bit disappointing, and Vernon is disappointed with himself that he hasn't been able to find reverse, or the car didn't want to play. Dive down the inside, a very, very ambitious dive down the inside of Frank Razzo on the restart. Frank actually does a pretty good job of just turning the car around to his right, and Vernon does himself no favours whatsoever as he locks it up going into the tyre barriers. Just needed a little bit of a push back, but clearly couldn't find the right selection of buttons to find reverse gear. They are paddle shifts, these cars. Just wondering if there's any damage to the steering as well, and maybe that is the reason that Vernon decided not to continue. There's no fluid coming out the front of the car. I know the engine's in the back, but there's radiators, there's oil and water radiators in the front of that car, but I don't think he's going to fire it up. He's motioning to be pushed further back again, if possible. And down in the pit lane, I think that was Sebastian Carrazzo, wasn't it?
No, it was TJ Fisher.
It was TJ, of course it was. Yeah, sorry.
On the wall there.
And his teammate is Kenny Murillo. So they're both the top cars, although they did get back into the fight and drove back to the pit lane themselves. Neither of them have gone any further. So a bit of it. Sorry, Jeremy, go ahead.
No, just going to say, real shame for those two. I mean, they've been given a fantastic opportunity by David Baker to join this top racing team for the final few races of the season, and really making good progress for both of them. Kenny Murillo has done most of the season. TJ just joined in last weekend, and it was a pretty steep learning curve for TJ Fisher. Got a fair amount of experience in all sorts of different cars, particularly open wheel cars, even off-road cars more recently. But it was a very steep learning curve to get used to this Porsche 911 GT3 Cup car, but he's had some good coaching from Zachary Robichon, both of those two, the last couple of weekends, and they both made big strides. Excellent front row start here for TJ Fisher. Unfortunately, he made a bad start, and then the two of them got together there, but they're certainly making good progress, and big thanks to David Baker for making this possible for them.
David Baker, who completed an awesome 100 starts in IMSA Porsche GT3 Carrera Cup USA by Yokohama last weekend at Road Atlanta, and had, I think, what is a unique double. Started at 100, his 100th race, parked the car, which was always going to be the plan. He wasn't going to compete in the race, and then was there to wave the checkered flag on his 100th race, which I'm not sure anybody will be able to say they've done that before. And these cars, just to underline what Jeremy was saying, by the way, no traction control, no ABS. Yes, they do have paddle shift, but these are a tricky car to drive, and some very good drivers down through the years in a variety of VIP and guest drives haven't been able to get on with them. Conversely, I do hear people say that if you're good in one of these cars, you can probably drive anything. They're a pretty feisty little beast, actually.
Yeah, absolutely right. And David Baker, that is such a cool story, isn't it? I mean, he's been involved in a couple of accidents over the last 18 months or so, and he's now a retired racing driver. But it was great that he was given that honour of being able to throw a checkered flag for what was his 100th race start. It's such a cool story, and it's David Baker that's made it possible for Kenny Murillo and for TJ Fisher to join that team for these final few races of the season. So just super cool all the way around.
Well, we've cleared the issue, but I wonder if there's enough time for us to go back to green. The Panamera is still with the four-way flashes on, indicating that we were going to go on to another lap. 2 minutes 20 to go. And what are they doing? A safety car lap in, Jeremy?
Well, I think it was only 2 minutes actually last time around.
So we might get
a one-lap dash.
A one-lap dash, oh dear. Stand back from the fence line, everybody, just in case. The lights on the safety car, if they are going to go out, will go out just after the kink on the back straight on Bayshore Drive. And they're a couple of 3 corners away from that at the moment. Just keep checking those four ways on the Panamera, glinting beautifully in the sunshine. Anytime now, if the lights are going to go out, just coming through the kink on the back straight with the water on the driver's left-hand side. Looks like to me the safety car is staying out there. Yeah. So I think we're going to finish under yellow, which is a bit of a surprise as we've cleared the... No, they're not, Jeremy. No, they're not. which means we now will do one more lap behind the safety car. Well, that's a shame. White flag is out, so Jeff Kingsley will win this one in a 1.5 miles time from Riley Dickinson and Sean Mccallister. That's going to be your podium. I can only surmise that they didn't feel that they could go back to green without shuffling the tyres at turn 1. And I know we're tight for time here. Well, actually, if they'd gone back to green, the final lap would have ended quicker than if we'd stayed yellow. So this will end under full course yellow, and for the championship, Jeff Kingsley will extend his lead in platinum over Riley Dickinson. He'll come in second. Sean Mccallister in third. It's another Masters win for Charlie Look in fourth position overall, with Alan Metney in second in the Masters. In GT3 Gold, important points and a few points gained back by Efren Castro for TPC Racing on the championship leader Kurt Swearingen in second place, with Richard Edge in third. And it looks like we're only going to have 8 cars finishing. Well, 9 if you count the Panamera. Actually, I think it's probably done enough laps to be to finish in the category, the Panamera, as our safety car. So Jeremy Shaw is doing a quick bit of arithmetic. And what does this do to the points, Jeremy, in platinum?
It means Jeff Kingsley now will have a 28-point advantage with just 3 races to go this season, 1 tomorrow and then 2 more at Sebring, not too far away from here, in a few weeks' time. So it's been another great win for Jeff Kingsley, and also this will enable, it will close up a little bit the lead a little bit to Kurt Swearingen with Efren Castro's win.
In the gold category, 3 points the difference between first and second. So Kingsley takes the platinum class, Castro takes the gold. It's the 16 and the 65 for Kelly Moss Road and Race and TPC Racing. Those 2 drivers will stand on the top step of the podium, with Riley Dickinson second overall in platinum for More Speed, and Sean Mccallister for JTX in third in platinum. Kurt Swearingen, championship leader, his lead trimmed just a tiny bit for the ACI Motorsports driver in second place in the gold category, and Richard Edge in third, the other ACI Motorsports car. A frustrating race, not able to get into any rhythm. Some fabulous racing when we were under green between Kingsley and Dickinson, and it is Jeff Kingsley from pole who takes the top spot and full points. Back tomorrow to do it all again as we have another round of the IMSA Porsche GT3 Cup Challenge USA by Yokohama. For Jeremy Shaw, I'm John Hindhaugh. Thanks for being with us. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday.